Some people can't get their heads around the fact that evolutionary theory has moved on since the mid-1800s, and they keep trying to use Darwin's explanation as the reason evolution is wrong. And this guy, son of Mr. Kent Hovind, is one of the worst at not accepting that it is actually provable. Buckle up, we're about to learn a scientific alternative to, well, science. Hello, I'm the Skeptic, the British floating circle that watches people make extraordinary claims, and then I explain why I don't accept what they're saying in the hope that some folks who also don't believe get some reassurance that they're not alone in their non-belief. He's a bit of a favourite of mine, the lesser annoying Hovind, whose very ridiculous tweets fill my timeline, Eric Hovind, the president of Creation Today. Since I'm at nearly 34,000 subscribers and Creation Today Ministry is only at 16, I should be king or emperor skeptic, right? Since that kind of royalty is double what president is. And we all know that 16 times 2 is 34.
16 times 2? 34.
Though, before we find out why science is better than science, if this isn't your first Skeptic video, hit the like, the subscribe and the bell to help evolve my channel. And a super thanks to those that hit super thanks in some recent videos. Chris Sears, twice, Godless Blessings, Turtle M, and Kinko Kitsumi. Lisa the Rainbow Giraffe bestows leaves upon you all. More hen. Okay, I'm ready to learn some creation science.
How we move beyond Darwin to the miracle of man that he put out last year. Even as the scientific vision of humankind as an accidental byproduct of the cosmos became ascendant, the first seeds of a new scientific revolution were sprouting. In other words, right when Darwin was coming out with what he was promoting, Darwinian Evolution, people were already dissenting and doubting that.
He does know that Darwinian evolution is only a minute part of the whole spectrum of evolution, right? Darwin only spoke about evolution by natural selection, which was more about speciation. Eric, buddy, if you're going to discount Darwinian evolution, you might want to also look at the other branches: gene flow, genetic drift, inbreeding, hybridization, and mutation.
One revealing the fine-tuning of nature for human existence. Already people were going, oh, wait a minute, this universe is perfectly designed, and they've really helped develop the fine-tuning argument, how the gravitational force has to be absolutely perfect, and all these different scientific laws that they say are on a razor's edge. And if you've ever seen some of their films from Illustra Media is the name of the company. If you've ever seen some of their films, they do a great job of that. They'll do some animation and they'll show a ruler that's like, thousands of miles long and say, if this ruler represents all the different gravitational forces that we could have, stronger that direction, weaker that direction, here's what you would have to have for life to exist on planet Earth. And then they show you exactly where the gravitational force needs to be.
No, it's the way it is because of how the things affect us are as they are. Who's to say that if gravity was pullier, we wouldn't just be much shorter versions, or likewise, less pulley, that we wouldn't just be really tall?
And then they go, listen, if you were to move just a little bit this way, an inch this way, or an inch this way out of this hundreds of miles or thousands of miles, you don't get life.
You don't get life as we currently understand it, though actually we might. We don't really know.
And then anyway, they present this and show it looks like life was designed. Again, they're coming from the data, from the facts, from the information, and trying to deduce what happened. I go the other direction, but he goes on, he says, as the Darwinian paradigm tightened its grip on mainstream biology and science, all vestiges of the old teleological organismic universe, all notions which placed humankind or life on Earth in any special or privileged place in the order of things, were banished from mainstream academic debates. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is a problem. When we are looking at the world and saying we're not going to allow the supernatural to come into the scientific debate.
Of course you can't. Why would you allow make-believing to explain how things are? It's lazy.
That's a problem. It's certainly not scientific to do so.
No, it is. Science offers the best explanation that we can put together. Supernatural fills gaps when you can't be bothered to do the legwork or just can't understand what's going on.
And they'll argue, well, science can only deal with the natural world. I get it. But then you need to stick with just the natural world.
Yeah, You do. But then, you can't complain when there is a natural explanation. Hey, science, explain stuff using natural and leave our supernatural alone. Sure, so here's what we know and can actually observe about evolution. Nuh-uh, where's God in all that? But you literally just told us to stick to natural. Dum-dum-dum-dum-dum.
And you need to stop trying to explain how things came into the natural world. And you now, if you're just going to stick with the natural world, you now can't explain things like logic and morality and the very science that you're using. Science, the laws of science are not material in nature.
No, but the processes to explain them can be explained naturally, brain function and whatnot. And do you want to go down the morality route? Is it moral to own people as property? Is it moral to kill babies to piss off a pharaoh? Is it moral to kill a man for not finishing inside his brother's widow?
They'll say, well, they're just a product of the universe. Why? You're just saying that.
Unlike when you say a god did it, right? You're not just saying that, you have actual proof, right? Right? Yeah, didn't think so.
We've got to move beyond Darwinian evolution.
Yes, we do, because there's so much more to evolution than just explaining natural selection.
So we ask questions like, hey, were humans created or did we evolve?
Evolved. Next.
What do you think about just humanity? Did we evolve from ape-like ancestors or were we actually created specifically by God? Out of nothing, like in the image of God, imagio Dei in the Greek. Is that Hebrew or Greek? I'm forgetting now. But imagio Dei. Somebody correct me in the chat here. If there are animals, were the animals created, or did those animals evolve by chance?
Evolved. Easy. Next.
Well, if we got a question about humanity, we got a question about animals. We got to ask the question about this whole planet. Was planet Earth created? Or did planet Earth evolve by itself?
Neither. Why would you only give those two options? Creation needs a creator, so demonstrate that to put it in the ring. Evolution explains the diversity of life. He then asks 2 or 3 people in his live chat if they've seen Cosmos by Neil deGrasse Tyson.
It is mind-boggling to watch Cosmos and how they'll show the moon forming. They'll just show all these comets coming and making the moon. And it was, 200,000 miles closer to the Earth. Well, it's what? So we're talking about a moon 73,000 miles away from planet Earth. Do you realize what kind of problems you have there? The inverse square law would take effect and the moon and the Earth would just crash into each other. Anyway, was the Earth created or did the Earth evolve? When you watch these shows, they make it just sound like, of course it evolved. Of course that happened.
No, it didn't evolve. It just wasn't created. And if the moon was 73,000 miles away from the Earth at one point, you could still fit, 33 moons or maybe 9 Earths between the Earth and the moon? That's still a long way from a collision, Eric.
And when you pay close attention, you're going, it's absurdity. It's fairy tales. They're making this stuff up. It is not scientific whatsoever.
Projection, Your Honor.
So was the Earth created or did the Earth evolve? And then, of course, we got to ask the question about our solar system and our galaxy and the whole universe. What about the entire universe? Was it created or did it evolve?
It was clearly pooped into existence by the one true God-eating deity, Lisa the Rainbow Giraffe, leave be upon her.
What about the properties that make up our universe? Time, space, matter, and energy. Were time, space, matter, and energy, were they created or did they evolve?
Or is it that they just are?
And this brings us to the 2 basic worldviews that are out there. Some people look at this world, they say, a Big Bang is what made this world from absolutely nothing. And this idea came out because, who was the guy looking through his telescope? The Hubble. Hubble's looking through his telescope, and he's realizing galaxies are getting further and further away. And no matter which direction he looked, the galaxies seem to be getting further and further away from where we're at. So he said, it looks like the universe is expanding. Well, they drew from that, well, maybe if we go back in time, that means it used to be closer together. It's possible that everything started off as a singularity and then expanded. It was actually by the newspapers that nicknamed this the Big Bang, even though there's no atmosphere, so there's not really a bang. And it was really, really tiny, but I guess it grew big. So anyway, they nicknamed it the Big Bang, and that took off, and everybody now calls it the Big Bang idea. By the way, scientists are now beginning to reject the Big Bang idea.
Or, there's a better understanding now, and more people are starting to accept that there was always something. But the rapid expansion of our local universe could still be part of that, so I'm failing to see an issue.
But this is one way to explain, I guess, what we see. We see our universe, we see our galaxies, we see the Earth, we see animals, we see mankind. This is one explanation of where man came from. And this is, by the way, the humanist worldview or the evolutionary worldview. The problem is this worldview comes from the perspective of there is no God. Some people try to blend this there is no God idea with, well, maybe God used evolution. See, I look at the world and I say, no, this world is incredibly designed. God was a smart designer. He's a very, very intelligent designer.
Smart designer, huh? That even within our solar system, this smart designer only made 10% of one planet actually habitable. Why not make some of the other planets that way? Or at least space livable?
That's the creationist worldview. Some people are trying to bring together, to mesh together creation and evolution. And I think you have big problems when you do that. When you think about the two different worldviews, they don't go together. They're not the same thing. The creation worldview, if you were to take just the Bible and you were to take it seriously and take the dates that are in here as accurate, you would read and you'd find out that from Adam to Abraham is about 2,000 years. From Abraham to Jesus Christ is another 2,000 years. And then from Jesus Christ to today is about another 2,000 years. And you'd get an age of approximately 6,000 years for the age of the earth. That's not what the evolution timeline is teaching.
No, because words in a book that have nothing but the words in the book to back it up aren't going to cut it as true. Look, this has been said countless times. Prove the book to be the word of a god first. Don't teach people it's actually true until you know it is. You can show people the evidence that supports a moment in time that the universe went whoosh, rapid expansion. You can only hit people with a book and say, this is the word of a god, okay? Just trust me, bro.
The evolution of the secular timeline is teaching somewhere between 13 and 20 billion years ago is when the Big Bang happened. Right now, they're at about 13.8 billion years.
Well, yeah. As technology advances, it gets easier to understand stuff. You know what becomes less believable with every technological advancement? Belief in a god.
It's funny because they'll say plus or minus and they'll give this little bitty percentage of like, it's got to be really close. Guys, they've changed it from 18 up to 20, down to 12, back up to 13, then 13.4, then 13.8, every time with a tiny margin of error, and then, oops, we were wrong. Let alone what the James Webb Space Telescope is discovering. They're like, uh-oh. Galaxies that are supposed to be just now forming, we're seeing them fully formed, fully functional. We got a problem. James Webb Space Telescope is destroying classic astronomy and cosmology. It's destroying many of the things that they held dear about how the world began. But anyway.
How is it destroying anything? It makes folks go, oh, that's not what we thought. Now let's find out why. It's never God did it with these peeps.
13 to 20 billion years ago, the Earth formed, there was a Big Bang, and then nothing happened for a while. 4.6 billion years ago is when the Earth cooled down. So our ball of dirt, our planet Earth formed 4.6 billion years ago. 3 billion years ago is when life evolved here on Earth. We'll talk about that in a second. Another major issue they cannot overcome. Then life continued to evolve. Around 3 million years ago is when mankind evolved, and now here we are today, the product of blind, random chance in a purposeless universe. Now, here's one of my big struggles, and I'm going to talk about this for a little while later on in the show. One of my big struggles is the number of churches and seminaries that are embracing God and evolution.
One of my big problems is that you still haven't demonstrated the God, and so really have no place to stand when it comes to judging what other people accept.
I don't know if you're familiar with this, but I just saw this video last week. Andy Stanley is now embracing the evolution worldview, saying that evolution is the means, theism is the agent. I'm going to show you the whole video. I might not have time to do this till the second half of the show, but I want to show you guys the whole video, and I want to talk through this because I'm like, man, this is a very prominent, very high-profile pastor who is now publicly okay with embracing evolution and creation together. I got to save it, but I got clips from atheists. I'm actually going to have film a show here in just a few minutes with another atheist friend of mine later this afternoon, and he would agree. He's like, you can't take both sides. That just doesn't work. You can't take the God side and the evolution side, because the whole point is they don't go together.
Unless, of course, those believers don't take the Bible as literal, which is just a tiny step closer to being rational, in my opinion.
But guys, it's time to move beyond Darwin. Let me share with you a couple more reasons why we need to move beyond Darwin and get a scientific alternative to evolution.
This'll be interesting. Since evolutionary biology is the science used to explain evolution, he then plays a video within his video that's plastered in music. Better skip it.
This is not individuals that really have no basis for denying Darwinian evolution. They are denying evolution and doing it for a reason. They're saying, look, I've examined the evidence and I don't see the evidence for Darwinian evolution.
Well, no, if you go back and listen to the video, they just say, I'm skeptical. And a lot of these folks are creation scientists. Yes, you've highlighted a few that were at Harvard and whatnot, but you just highlighted the university and managed to cut out the name of the person that went there. It's very sketchy editing.
Look at this. These are all scientists. This is the list. I'm going to go through it quickly. I'm just going to flash all the pages. You can download this yourself. These are all the pages, descentfromdarwin.org. These are all, every line is a professor who's saying, I question Darwinian evolution. It doesn't seem like Darwinian evolution is what makes the most sense of the scientific data that we're seeing today. And it doesn't. Darwinian evolution cannot account for what we observe happening in real life. It's got a lot of problems. I'll go through some of those, but Darwinian evolution cannot account for it.
And I wonder how many on that list are creationists, who already hold a bias toward a god and so try to explain everything from a biblical narrative. How many of those folks have won a Nobel Prize?
It's time for us to move beyond Darwinian evolution. It really is. Let's move beyond Darwin. I received a book, probably 15, maybe 17 years ago. It came in the mail, shipped right here to the ministry. It was from a Muslim, and he had done this big old journal, apparently independently wealthy. They sent this volume. It was a tome. I mean, the book had to be about that size right there, and I was trying to find it. It's in my library somewhere, but I couldn't find it. And it's about that thick.
Yeah, sure. Eric has a library just filled with oversized books. So many, in fact, that he couldn't find one specific oversized book.
And this guy, Harun Yahya, is a Muslim, and he is presenting evidence against evolution. Now, he does believe in long ages, I'll tell you that. But he gives an incredible photographic documentation showing no evolution has taken place.
Well, it sounds to me like he can't grasp the concept and just misunderstands how evolution works. Good on him for writing a book that just shows how ignorant he is of what is the most supported scientific theory there is.
For example, he shows a picture of an alligator and a fossil alligator. Now, according to the old Earth interpretation, and according to the evolutionary interpretation, this fossil alligator would be somewhere between 54 and 37 million years old. This one's from Germany. Now, when they examine the crocodile from somewhere between 37 million and 54 million years ago, they notice something. It hasn't changed. It hasn't evolved in that many years, in that many million years. There's been no change take place.
Just from glancing at the picture, the snout looked shorter on the older one. But also, one is a skeleton and the other is a fully clothed croc. Even so, if genetic mutations don't benefit a creature, they probably won't become prominent in a species.
It hasn't gotten a little bit better. Evolution hasn't done anything to the crocodile in over 30 million years. It's the exact same.
It's not a thinking agent. It's an explanation for something.
The coelacanth. The coelacanth used to be the index fossil for rock that was 410 million years old. So he shows the fossil coelacanth. Well, not long ago, they discovered the coelacanth is still alive. If it's still alive, it certainly can't be guaranteed to be the index fossil of a rock 410 million years old.
That one particular fossil can because of the age of it.
And when you examine the fossils of the coelacanth and the living coelacanth today, guess how much evolution took place on the coelacanth in 410 million years? Keep in mind, they say that humans evolved from apes, in just a couple million years. So we went from ape-like to human in a couple million years. 410 million years, the coelacanth hasn't changed at all. It's exactly the same as we find it in the fossil record.
Not technically true. The changes may have just been so minute that it didn't affect the overall appearance of the fish.
They find horseshoe crabs that are supposedly 450 million years old in the fossil record. When you compare the fossils of a horseshoe crab that are supposedly 450 million years old to a modern day horseshoe crab, guess how different they are? None. Guys, no evolution in 450 million years. Darwinian evolution didn't work on this guy, you'd have to say.
How can you not grasp the concept of, if it ain't broke, don't fix it?
At some point, guys, we've got to back up and go, maybe evolution isn't happening. Maybe it's not doing what they claimed it's doing, small, gradual changes over time.
Maybe it's just that you don't understand how those small changes over time can have a massive effect over hundreds of thousands of generations.
I could literally spend about an hour and a half showing picture after picture after picture, showing what we see in the fossil record and what we see alive today are the exact same thing.
Then you'd spend an hour and a half proving you don't understand how evolution works. What about things that have massively changed? Whales, hippos, sloths, pangolin, pigs, and of course, just regular giraffes, to name a few, that have such distinct changes that they barely look recognisable from their ancestors. Just picking some things that incorrectly confirm your bias doesn't suddenly disprove Darwinian evolution.
Zero evolution has taken place.
We can all play that game, Eric. Zero gods have created life, and considering there's so much evidence that supports evolution and zero that supports creation, I think I'm going to stick with the current science. Unless you're about to offer the alternative, which is, in fact, why we're here.
It is time for us to move beyond Darwin and say Darwinian evolution doesn't make sense. There's got to be a better way. There's got to be a better way. I happen to know what that better way is. Matter of fact, I'm going to share it with you. I know the better way. I've got a scientific alternative to Darwinian evolution.
Well, hurry up, man. You've only got a couple of minutes left on this video.
But first, I need to talk about what evolution means. I need to talk about Andy Stanley, and then I'm going to have time just at the end to give you the summary of what a scientific alternative is to Darwinian evolution. Before I do that, though, YouTube and Facebook, I've got to let you guys go. I'm so sorry. I'd love for you guys to catch the rest of this program. It's available at Creation Today. Just go to creationtoday.org/partner.
Goddamn motherfucking face with your stupid getting people to pay for your science that doesn't even make sense. Oh, so I have to pay a minimum of $2 a month to find out what science is a better alternative to what is already demonstrable. No thanks, you bloody scammer. I already understand why some things look different to their ancestors and why some things don't. Who actually would pay to find out what Eric has to say? Let me know in the section below. I'm going to pass this to Mark Rober and see if he can send Eric a glitter bomb or something. Skeptic, that is at least one patron you won't be getting, Eric. A big thank you to this month's top-level ticks on Patreon. Addy Rockart, the Enixes, Elizabeth, Jakari, Whiskey Tech Fred, and the absolute lunatic Travis, as well as all the $3 base ticks. You can become a supporter on Patreon too at patreon.com/theskeptic. The link is in the description, along with links to all my other socials. Don't forget to hit the like button and subscribe if you haven't already. From me, the Skeptic, stay safe, keep thinking logically, and ask questions. Skepticism is the first step towards truth. See you next Saturday.